Hello, my name is Karen Torres. This is my video regarding the research that I did for trauma, on childhood trauma and how it affects the development and the importance of early intervention. Well, first, the subject is highly important due to a personal experience that I had when I was 8 years old, and in fact, others around me, surrounding like family, friends, even classmates, anywhere else, we've all gone through a kind of like a trauma in our lives when we were a child. So I believe it's highly important that we understand what trauma is, the effects that it causes, the development that it has on when we become older. So first, trauma is an emotional, psychological, and many other factors that comes with trauma. On my research, I did that about 25% of children experience trauma by age 16. Um, that's really, it might not seem like a lot, but that still is a significant amount. And maybe there's other children that have not spoken up, and that number is probably not accurate right now. And they are different types of trauma, which it can be abuse, neglect, accidents, and exposure to violence. The effects of childhood trauma on development when we become older, um, we can experience like anxiety, depression, behavioral issues, and risk. What I mean by that, like anxiety when we talk to people or when we're surrounded by people, we don't know how to act. And I do struggle with that personally. I struggle with trust. I don't trust people. It's hard for me to trust. I don't like being in a situation where I feel uncomfortable. I feel like I'm being kind of like judged. I don't like that at all. So it's it's something that I actually kind of struggle mentally wise, physically wise, anything. Um, Even friends, I observed friends and family members that also have struggled with mental illness, especially in the Latino community. We don't really speak about it. We kind of put it under the rug. You can say, but um, like I said, I just think it's highly important that we bring out. You know what? I went through this when I was a child, and I feel like I've been affected by it. Some of the research findings that I used in my research paper, linked to childhood trauma to adult mental healthness issues. One of the books that I used on my research was by Everett and Gallup on the connections between early trauma and disorders such as PTSD. For example, me personally, sometimes I have PTSD on certain smells, like a cologne or even a smell like of a certain food. It just kind of triggers me back to that moment. And it's kind of, if you think about it, it's kind of scary because you're just like, you think you forgot about it, but in reality, you just kind of digged it more into back of your mind. It just kind of like, oh, well, I forgot about it. But in reality, we don't forget about it. We just learn how to hide it, you can say. Um, Especially as well as trauma can alter the brain's development, particularly in areas to memory and emotional regulation. Like I said, we learn how to. It's kind of like a way of form of forgetting it. Like, oh well, I know it happened, but I'm gonna learn how to forget about it. Yeah, we forget about it, but like I said, we have triggers. Sometimes we have a trigger on a certain smell, on certain food, certain areas. It can be even seasons like fall, like it reminds me of this or that. Like, sometimes we learn how to develop a certain, um, how can I say, like we put walls, like a big wall to learn how to kind of like, okay, disappear it. And as well, trauma, um, it affects every area, and we don't like to talk about it. Me, I don't like to talk about it. I've learned how to kind of like stay quiet. And till now, I do have difficulty on communicating with others, communicating with my partner, communicating with friends. It's hard. It's hard to open up. But when you have that supportive community, when you have counseling in an early age, I think it makes a difference. I honestly believe it makes a difference on a child development when they get older. I believe they learn how to communicate with others, how to develop a trust with others, because I didn't have that. When everything happened to me, I did not have that early intervention, and I wish I did. I honestly wish I did. I believe I would have learned how to cope with it. You know what I mean? Um, so when it comes to early intervention, it's highly important to be around in a supportive environment and an open communication, which Nationwide Children's Hospital explains, and I put that in my research paper. Such as schools and local organizations can provide a supportive environment for children, even for parents. I believe some parents gone through some childhood trauma and they just never got the help. So when it comes to the children, they don't know how to communicate with them. So the main idea of my paper, it's just the way how trauma impacts the development and how highly important is early intervention. And I will always stick with that. I believe it's highly important, and I suggest everybody that has gone through some trauma in their lives to speak up. That's it. Speak up. And we're not alone, and there's many people out there that we can relate to this subject. So like I said, I hope this research can help an individual to just kind of be like, you know what, I'm not alone in this situation. I need help. I need help to learn how to communicate with others, learn how to cope with this trauma. And just because me in the future, hopefully, if I do become a mother, I don't want my children to experience my trauma, and I don't want them to feel like they can't communicate with me, because I will love and I want my children and friends and everybody else to communicate with me. I think that's a big thing when it comes to human society, that we need to communicate with each other when we're hurting, when we're happy, when we're mad. It makes a difference.